Hey, I'm Hallie, and we're starting with that breaking news, and we mean it, right? Literally, it is happening in the last maybe 60 seconds or so. We found out that Meta will let former President Trump back on Facebook and back on Instagram after his 2-year suspension. Remember, they'd kicked him off the day after the January 6th insurrection, the attack on the Capitol. His last post was 3 p.m. January 6th, asking for rioters to remain peaceful. And in a statement NBC News just got within the last few seconds, a top Meta official, the president of global affairs, says the company thinks the serious risks to public safety since that Capitol attack has, I'm quoting here, sufficiently receded, citing the assessments of experts and how the 2022 midterms played out. Look at that last part, though. There's a key sentence in there. Nick Clegg says Meta has some new guardrails in place. New guardrails. What does that mean? What does that look like? Meta says that if Mr. Trump post something that like denies an election or a QAnon conspiracy theory, they will limit his reach. They could prevent people from resharing that post. They could also cut him off from advertising tools so people could look but couldn't spread it. If he does anything more, right, in the words of Meta or in the eyes of Meta, something that could incite violence, he could be suspended again, 1 month to 2 years. Here's the thing. Meta is not the first platform to let the former president back online. Twitter actually did it a couple of months ago. But Mr. Trump has decided not to tweet, at least not yet, although he is laying the groundwork for that return, telling Fox News just within the last week that Facebook, in his words, needs us more than we need them, and that his team had tried to set up a meeting with CEO Mark Zuckerberg because, after all, he's running again in 2024. Garrett Hake is joining us now. Garrett, explain the Meta rationale here.
Well, Hallie, the meta rationale here is that what occurred to get Mr. Trump suspended, at first indefinitely and then with a 2-year ban, was the kind of thing that needed to be reassessed over time. The 2-year portion is up. Meta says their oversight board has been looking into this. They say they did not talk to Mr. Trump about it, but the conclusion that they came to is this. Part of the statement from Nick Clegg, where he writes, democracy is messy and people should be able to make their voices heard. We believe it is both necessary and possible to draw a line between content that is harmful and should be removed and content that, however distasteful and inaccurate, is part of the rough and tumble of life in a free society. Yeah, Hallie, this is a long statement, and Clegg really goes through the arguments here and makes it quite clear that they know they're not going to satisfy everybody. There are sort of pro-Trump folks and others who believe there's a First Amendment right, that political speech should be allowed almost without any exception, who won't like even the guardrails they put in place. And then there are those who believe Mr. Trump is still, and perhaps always would be, a threat either to democracy kind of writ large or specifically to, incentivize some violent act who aren't going to be happy about the decision to put him back on at all. But it's clear in the guardrails you've laid out, and then I think in this statement more broadly, that the desire is to have him back in on almost a probationary basis to see if he can follow the rules that they have laid out publicly for him to rejoin the online community that they control.
I want to go back to this idea that risk has sufficiently receded. And I think a question mark about that, because as you know, Garrett, as we've been reporting on here just this month, we saw a self-proclaimed Donald Trump supporter and election denier arrested for plotting to shoot at the homes of Democratic officials. At the same time, Meta has faced some political pressure to make this move, to let Mr. Trump back on. I am told by Nick Clegg, in an interview we'll see later on this network, that in fact there was no meeting between Meta and Team Trump. Talk us through that.
Well, look, the Trump team has made it clear they do think Mr. Trump should be reinstated on these platforms. But on the question of whether the risk has subsided, I think there's two ways to look at it. I mean, on the one hand, there's no longer a mob outside the building where I'm reporting live. And that was the case when Mr. Trump was posting about the events of January 6th, basically in real time on his social media platforms. But the idea that he's not engaged in conspiracy theories is going to be quickly proven false if you follow him on Truth Social, his current social media platform. That's basically all he talks about. And so those guardrails and the idea of inherent risk here are going to be tested very quickly, I suspect, if Mr. Trump decides to pick back up his keyboard and start banging out Facebook posts.
It's not just about the posts, Garrett. Fundraising. A big part of why this is important to the Trump campaign is about money and about targeted ads.
Yeah, look, I think that's the biggest reason Donald Trump needs to be back on Facebook. There is no more effective tool for online political fundraising in this country than targeted ads on Facebook. His supporters are there. They can be reached. And in the months since his campaign has launched, we know that they have not hit the kind of goals they set for themselves for small dollar online fundraising. Getting at those folks on Facebook is arguably significantly more effective, or at least a different pathway than trying to hit them on email or on text message. Go where the people are. Trump can now do that.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.